wonderful students. Welcome to our online class. How are you today? I hope that you're doing great. So, today we will learn a new lesson. Are you ready for our new lesson? Very good. So, let's begin. Our topic for today can be found in your science textbook, Chapter 1, Living Things and the Environment. Again, Chapter 1, Living Things and the Environment. Specifically, we will discuss about interactions between living and non-living components. Again, interactions between living and non-living components. When we talk about interaction, this is a kind of action that occurs as the living thing and non-living thing have an effect upon one another. Living things interact with the non-living things in order for them to survive. Again, living things interact with the non-living things to survive. Before we will start our discussion, let us have first our vocabulary words. These vocabulary words can help you to deeply understand our lesson for today. So these are those words that you need to familiarize. First, we have here photosynthesis. Again, photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process in which plants make their own food. Okay? Again, plants can make their own food using sunlight, air, and water. And that process is what we call photosynthesis. Second, we have here respiration. Again, respiration. The inhaling of oxygen and exhaling of carbon dioxide is what we call respiration. So, that is what we usually do every day and every minute. We inhale oxygen and we exhale carbon dioxide. Next, this is what we call hibernation. Again, hibernation. Hibernation is the state of being asleep for winter. So, mostly animals are asleep during winter. So, they are in a deep sleep for winter. That is what we call hibernation. In our previous lesson, we already discussed the meaning of environment, right? So again, when we talk about environment, it is everything that surrounds us. It consists of living things and non-living things. Here is an example of an environment. As you can see, there's a lot of living things and non-living things in this environment. Now, can you tell me where are the living things in this picture? First, we have trees, right? The trees are also a living thing. Next, we have grass. What else? We also have plants. Very good. How about the non-living things? Can you tell me where are the non-living things? Is this a non-living thing? No, it is a living thing. How about this one? Is this a living thing? Yes, rocks are non-living thing because they are not alive. Next, air is also a non-living thing. Also, soil is a non-living thing. What else? Water is also a non-living thing. Great! We all know that water is a non-living thing, which is an important to all living things such as humans. Living things cannot survive without water. Rivers, lakes, rain, and groundwater provide water for all living things. For example, lion is a living thing, right? And water is a non-living thing. What do you think is the interaction between the living thing, which is the lion, and the non-living thing, which is the water? Do you have any idea? Why do you think lion needs water? Or why do you think lion needs to interact with the water? Okay, the lion drinks water to stay hydrated. Okay, so the lion needs to drink in order for it to survive and in order for it to function properly. Okay, so when we talk about hydrated, it means you have enough water in your body. Because if you don't have enough water in your body, then your body will not function properly. Okay, so here's another example of the importance of water to the living things. As you can see, these plants also need water. So what do you think is the interaction between the water and the plants? Okay, so plants needs water for photosynthesis and germination of seeds. So when we talk about photosynthesis, it means making their own food. Okay? It is the process of making their own food. And when we talk about germination, this is the process of making the plants grow bigger and taller from being a seed into a young plant and into a young adult. Did you get it? Great. Now, how about the interaction between the cactus and the water? Do you think cactus need a lot of water? No. Cactus can survive with a little amount of water only. So, cactus can live with very little amount of water. Now, there are also some plants that needs a lot of water in order for them to survive. For example, these rice plants need a large amount of water to grow. So if you will just give the rice plants a little amount of water, then it will not grow healthier or it will die eventually. So that is why water is very important to the rice plants. Okay? So we also have here the fish or the other aquatic animals. These aquatic animals, such as the fish, the dolphins, the sharks, they also need water. Why do you think these aquatic animals need water? Or what do you think is the interaction between the aquatic animals, which is the living thing, and the water, which is the non-living thing? Do you have any idea? Okay, so aquatic animals or the aquatic organisms can only survive in water. So if you will put the fish outside the water, what will happen to the fish? Okay, the fish will eventually die because they cannot survive without water. They can only survive in water. That is why water is very important to the aquatic organisms. Okay? Next, sometimes water is also not good to all living things. It can also cause destruction or damage to the other living things, such as this one. As you can see, some plants were destroyed by too much water, or also called as flood, right? So too much water can kill some living things too, such as the plants, the small animals, or even as humans are affected with too much water. Okay, so these are just some of the examples on how the non-living thing, which is the water, affects living things, such as the animals and the plants. Okay, now let us discuss about the interactions between the living things and the sunlight, which is the non-living thing. For example, here is the cheetahs. What do you think is the interaction between the cheetahs and the sunlight? Do you have any idea? Okay, so cheetahs hunt during daytime. Okay, when we talk about hunt, it means they will find food for in order for them to survive, such as they will kill other animals in order for them to survive, or in order for them to have some food. That is why cheetahs hunt during daytime. And that is also the reason why they need the sunlight. Okay? Next, we have the dog. What do you think is the interaction between the sunlight and the dog? The dog basks in the sun to warm up. Do you know the meaning of the word bask? When we talk about bask, it means the dog is resting. Okay? The dog is resting in the sun to warm up. So, in order for them to stay in a moderate temperature, or to make their body temperature in balance. Next, we have plants. Plants also need sunlight. Why do you think the plants need the sunlight? Plants need sunlight for photosynthesis. Okay, so we already discussed the word photosynthesis. Again, photosynthesis means the process of making their own food. That is why plants can make their own food because of the sunlight. Okay? Now, let us have a short activity. Are you ready? Very good. Now, I want you to take a seat comfortably. Okay? And close your eyes. I want you to breathe in, then breathe out. Again, take a deep breath, then breathe out. Last, breathe in, then breathe out. Now you can open your eyes. So what we just did is an example of an interaction between the non-living thing, which is the air. Here is another example of the interaction between the living things and the air. As you can see here, the kid is breathing oxygen, just like what we did a while ago. This kid is also breathing the oxygen, which is one of the components of the air. Okay? So here's another example. How do you think this tiger interacts with the air? Do you have any idea? The tiger breathes oxygen. Just like us humans, we also breathe oxygen in order to survive. And that is also how the tiger interacts with the air. Okay? So, another one we have here the fish. How do you think the fish interacts with the air? Do they interact with the air? Okay, so the fish take in the dissolved oxygen from the water. So that is how they interact with the air. Okay, next we have this plant. Plants or the corn plants depend on wind to pollinate their flowers. Okay, when we talk about wind, it is the moving air. So when the air is moving, it is called wind. So this wind helps the corn plants in order to pollinate their flowers. So this pollination is how they reproduce a new plant. Okay? Another one we have here, the mangrove trees. So the mangrove trees have roots adapted to breathe in muddy water. Okay, so this is the roots of the mangrove trees. So it helps the mangrove tree to breathe in the muddy water. Okay, so now let's talk about the non-living thing, which is the temperature. So how do you think the temperature interacts with the living things? So just like for example, this one. Do you know the name of this animal? So this is a polar bear. And as you can see, it is covered with snow. Very good. So a bear hibernating. As you can see, it is hibernating right now. So the bear interacts with the temperature by hibernating. Do you know the meaning of hibernating? So it means that the animal is in a deep sleep during winter. There are also some birds that avoid cold weather or cold temperature by migrating into a warmer place in order for them to hunt or find food and shelter. And that is what we call migratory birds. Okay? So that is how some birds interact with temperature. If a certain place is very cold for them, they go to another place which is warmer in order for them to survive. Now, let us talk about the interaction between the living things and the soil. For example, how do you think the roots of these plants interact with the soil? The roots of a tree anchors to the soil. So the soil provides support to the plant and give nutrients to the plant in order for it to grow. Soil is also a habitat for some animals, just like this earthworm. So the earthworm lives in soil. In addition, this earthworm doesn't have eyes to see and ears to hear their surroundings, but they have the skin in order for them to feel their surroundings. Okay? Aside from the earthworm, mole lives also in the soil. So this mole have a poor eyesight. That is why it has many whiskers in their nose in order for them to sense their surroundings. And it also have these claws that helps them to dig in the soil. Okay? So that is how this mold interacts with the soil. In summary, living things interacts with the non-living things in order for them to survive. Without the non-living things, such as water, sunlight, and air, the living things will die. That is why non-living things is also important for the living things. Okay? So now let us have an activity. Let's try this. So this activity can be found in your science workbook, page 13. Okay? So, are you ready? Very good. Now, fill in the blanks to show how the environment affects the organisms. Also, I want you to name the non-living components that the organism interacts with in each situation. Okay? Let's start. Letter A. Fish have blank to take in the dissolved oxygen from the water. Again, fish have blank to take in the dissolved oxygen from the water. What do you think is the answer? Is it migrating, gills, skin, hibernate, oxygen, or photosynthesis? If your answer is gills, then you're correct. Wow! So, what do you think is the non-living thing component that the organism, which is the fish, interacts with? It is the air. Very good. Now, let's go to letter B. Some birds avoid winter by blank to warmer places where they can find food and shelter. Again, some birds avoid winter by blank to warmer places where they can find food and shelter. What is your answer? It is migrating. Very good. And what is that non-living components? It is the temperature. Great. Now let's go to letter C. All living things need blank to breathe. Again, all living things need blank to breathe. What is your answer? It is oxygen. Very good. So, what is that non-living component that these living things need in order to breathe? It is the air. Next, letter D. Plants need sunlight to carry out what? Again, plants need sunlight to carry out blank. Is it migrating, gills, skin, hibernate, oxygen, or photosynthesis? What is your answer? It is photosynthesis. Very good. Now for its non-living component, it is sunlight. Okay. Letter E. During winter, some animals blank by going into a deep sleep. Again, during winter, some animals blank by going into a deep sleep. So what is your answer? It is hibernate. So what is that non-living components that the animals use or that the animals interacts with? It is the Temperature. Very good. Last, letter F. Earthworms sense their surroundings in the soil by using their blank. Again, earthworms sense their surroundings in the soil by using their blank. So what does the earthworms use in order for them to sense their surroundings? Is it migrating, gills, skin, hibernate, oxygen, or photosynthesis? The answer is skin. And what is that non-living component? It is the soil. Very good. So that's all for today. I hope you have learned something from me today. Bye for now and see you in our next online class. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.